And welcome everyone to another edition of Cleve and Me as we are getting this show started today. A couple of announcements before I bring in the boys real quick as I started through this live session. Cleve's going to be joining us very shortly, and he has an announcement because he's moving all the way to Hawaii. So he'll go into a little bit of detail and share there. Obviously, we're going to have our Money in the Bank predictions for this show. Maybe throw out a couple of surprises to see what happens. And then we're going to, talk some Forbidden Door. My brother and I were at that event this weekend along with a couple others, which was just a great old good time. And on top of that, we have a new UFC fighter, former, I should say now, joining WWE and going to be going to NXT. So there's a lot to cover. Cleveland's about to be in. Gene Buck, what you heard, who's joined us last week and a couple episodes in the past, he is pumped to be joining us again. And then after that, we have Mr. Tampa Tones joining us. He's a little busy right now, but he's going to be, getting in the car and getting things going and be on the show. But, oh, Mr. Cleve, I see getting that fresh look for the episode. How the hell we doing as let's get right into it. It's sadly going to be your last episode for a little bit here, but we're going to have a fun one breaking down a great pay-per-view.
As Joe mentioned, yes, the big news is, as you guys know, we talked about the past few episodes, I'm moving. So the time difference in Hawaii is a little different. So I got to take a month off to figure everything out, get my schedule in order. So this will sadly be my last episode for a while. That does not mean I won't be on Twitter trash talking heel Joe, who made an appearance last Sunday out of nowhere.
Yes, he did, and Tampa Tones will be with us as always, as he's going to be kind of our filling guy there. So it's Cleve and Me. It's almost going to become me and T for being for Tampa Tones. That's just until Cleve gets back, though. It's going to be about a month. So we'll hopefully get him first episode after we come back from SummerSlam beginning of August and really hit the ground running there. Like I said, we got our veteran boss, Gene Buck, what you heard, the electricity he brings. He really wants to talk about Valerie Laredo. We'll be doing that. And then Tampa Tones, as always, like I said, we were at Forbidden Door. It was a phenomenal time. The United Center was popping. And for a Sunday night, they're sometimes tough because you got Monday the next day, but too much fun to pass up. And I'll never pass up like we did for Hell in a Cell when Cleve and I were there with Tones, or we did for Forbidden Door. We don't pass up a time the wrestling community makes its way to Chicago. But let's get into it right away, Cleve, as we're going to get predictions from everyone, but we might as well start with yourself and really just dive right into it because we're going to do some news, but we'll talk about a couple of things as a group. As Gene also finds his way in here. What up, Gene?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. It's good to have you back. And you know what? We were going to do a Money in the Bank prediction, but before we even do that, because now I got both in, we can kill two birds with one stone a little bit here. Your thoughts on Valerie Laredo today, and I know you might have had a thought on this earlier, my man.
Hey, she got juice. It's the only logical decision that you can make, losing somebody, losing Naomi and Sasha. I mean, you got to get somebody with some juice in there. I mean, when you look at the division as a whole, to be honest, division's a disaster right now. The way they're directing the talent there, it's not good, and you need some fresh blood in there. Ronda Rousey's failing; the ship is sinking. So it's the only logical decision that you can really make. Am I being loud? Okay.
Oh yeah, I can hear you just fine, and I completely agree with you on SmackDown. I think the women's division, obviously they had Sasha and Naomi, so they went down by losing those two. Ronda Rousey, I was high on her at first, not so much now. Bayley's been gone for a while. Raw now, I think, has a strong side to it because you have your Becky Lynch, your Asuka, your Liv Morgans, your Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley.
Can I speak on that real quick?
Go ahead.
with the loss of Rhea Ripley, it really hurt the division. And that match on Raw was very puzzling. If you're running this angle about Becky Lynch and she's losing, she's on this losing streak, she's down and she's miserable, why not have her lose, or why not have her lose the Doudrop? Because it would realistically, it could happen, and it makes sense, and from there you could just kind of build, for her to make that change, kind of like what they did with Corbin, where Corbin was loser Corbin, and then all of a sudden he's happy Corbin, that kind of thing. So I just don't believe there's a lot of vision going into the matches as they're being booked.
You think Becky will? Are you mostly speculating that you think Becky might get her hands on this Money in the Bank now?
Yeah, I really do believe that, and I think if she would have lost, that would have been created some would have created more buildup, and then I don't know. I just see that Becky Lynch will get this. I think at some point she will be champion again within the next 4 or 5 months.
And
or less.
It very well could be. Now, Cleve, that is interesting to me, because if Becky doesn't win, I don't mind her joining, but it does seem, because let's be honest, Raquel Gonzalez is not going to get this W. I would love for Liv Morgan. There is a lot of hype train there too. A lot of fans. You'll see the big LIV fan sign. So, Cleve, my question then to you is going to be, I know a lot of people love Becky, but do you think they're going to give most of the people what they want, maybe give it to Liv Morgan, or you agree with Gene and, hey, you know what? Becky's big time. They're just going to give it to her, and they're just going to have someone at the top once again lay the foundation while the people trying to move up kind of get stuck.
I'm sort of 50-50 on it, just because I'm looking at who's in the match, and it's not like Becky's, just the automatic winner. I think Alexa Bliss' character has been building back up over the last few months after she took her break. And I think, honestly, no disrespect to Liv Morgan, but I think Alexa Bliss should probably get back into the title picture before Liv Morgan, but I wouldn't mind either one. I want to make a comment on what Gene, when he compared it to the Baron Corbin. I think they could have did that with Becky, but Becky is such a big star, and Baron Corbin was always that middle tier guy. So it's more easy to do a losing streak storyline for like middle tier guys compared to someone of Becky Lynch status. Because I read an article last week before her win, I think Monday, Becky in this year was 3-18 in 2022. So it seems like the storyline is working. She only won 3 matches on the year so far, but I just think it was just a safe bet to put Becky in the match because more fans will tune in. And I don't think Alexa Bliss and Asuka I don't think they get that fan power that Becky Lynch does.
And to say it really quick, for those who do not know, in this match you have Lacey Evans, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Raquel Gonzalez, Asuka, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. Now, yeah, really besides Becky, because Asuka, hasn't she won the money? Didn't she just recently win the money? Yeah, so she's not, I don't think she's going to get it again. To me, unless you're trying to build, Bliss is always an option. Me and my brother were there at 18 Money in the Bank when she cashed in at the Money in the Bank over Rousey. That was pretty cool. But really, I think if they were smart, they would give it to Liv or Lacey just to try and see what kind of bump you could give somebody. But if I were looking at odds, Becky would have to probably be the favorite just because, she did do all that losing. I'm not a big Doudrop fan, but the point is you could have put a newer face in who does have talent just to really put their skills on a highlight reel, because let's be honest, not everyone always has time or wants to tune in every week, and then they'll see Money in the Bank, that pay-per-view will glare them, and then that's where they kind of find out about somebody. So it sounds like we're going around. Gene's got Becky. Cleve, did you fully say who you're going with there?
You know what? I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss. I just feel it's her time to be back. I'm a huge Alexa Bliss fan, and I think she deserves it after the shitty storyline she's been in the last few months. And
that would be the second 2-time winner, as Carmella is there. first one that's won twice. And we had an injury there, as Gene just brought about. We're going to talk about that match in a second since it kind of jumps into it. I'm going to pick Liv Morgan because that's what I want. That's what I know majority of the fans would like to see. But do we usually get that? And when the fans want something? No. Gene, most of the time we don't. But I saw you shaking your head a little bit at the Carmella thing. Carmella filled in for Becky. Mm-hmm. And here's why I'm going to say I don't mind her filling in, because it's an automatic loss, in my opinion. Bianca's not dropping the belt. So you couldn't have put somebody who's trying to really move their way up. Carmella's kind of an established mid-card talent to me as a heel. She won't lose much ground by losing this match. You put a younger person in, they will move it to the back of the card, won't get a chance. And then if you don't want to do Becky or Asuka, you had that feud going on for a while. So I don't mind Carmella as a heel going up against Bianca. What are your thoughts on the match? And do you agree with me on Bianca easily retains this one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I see Bianca retaining this. I'm watching the chemistry between the two of them, and I don't know. It just wasn't there for me. I don't know. And I'm not being hypercritical.
No, I'm with you kind of in this, honestly.
Because when they were bantering back and forth, Carmella before, like when she was in NXT and then she made the transition to WWE, her promos were tight, where she was just like, she was can I say an ass?
You could say, hey, you go for it, my friend. Call it how you see it.
She was an ass, but you looked at her and she was just so arrogant, and she, with this new, I'm the most beautiful person, and she's not the same as she was as that ratchet Long Island chick that would fight anybody. It's just not the same, and just the way they're selling this is just it's kind of disappointing, to be honest.
Well, and I'm actually going to agree with you. And most of the time I play the opposite role as I just normally do. But when you don't get, this is the problem when Roman doesn't have a match and you don't have two separate titles, because your women's division, your two main titles, then have to pick you up. And I'm not really, I actually love the card besides the two women's title matches, if I'm being honest. I'm not a big fan of the Ronda Rousey and Natalya. We know Ronda's going to win. I'm not a huge fan of Bianca Carmella. We know Bianca's going to win. I love the Money in the Banks. I think, we're going to talk about a few other things that we got going with the Street Profits, versus Usos. You can never go wrong there. Even though they might fight a lot, you just can't go wrong when those four men go in the ring. But Cleve, go ahead, Gene.
Real quick before you jump over, I just want to put this out here. I don't want to sound negative towards the women. I'm very much about the women talent out there and them doing their thing. I just don't feel like they're being put in a position to where you can see the best of them. This whole Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. Ronda Rousey, she came into the WWE and she was on fire, but I think she's gotten that pop now, and I don't think she's not motivated to go any further than this.
How big of an addition would Bayley be if she came back soon?
Oh, Bayley would be huge.
Massive.
Bayley would be huge. That would be, and I'm not saying a replacement for Naomi or Sasha, but it's definitely going to give a bump to the women's division. And she knows how to work a mic. She knows how to work a crowd. And that's what the women's division is missing right now. I love Bianca Belair, but I don't think she's over with the crowd sometimes. I don't know if she'd make a better heel, or I don't know how you fix that, but I love her as a talent. And, she has decent mic skills, but it's one of those things that I would expect her to be, trying to elevate that as a champion, just because you want to draw more people to you as a crowd presence.
It's kind of like going, from good to great. She's on that. She's good. When Gene said that, like you said, it's nothing negative. But you got to be great if you want to be a long-term champion. And sometimes people have it, some don't. Cleve, your thought real quick with the sweep. By the way, Mr. Tampa Tones, who's going to join us, said he wants Lacey Evans, but he's going to be with us a little bit late. Cleve, are you going to pick and sweep it with Bianca Belair?
Oh yes, I mean, let's be honest. Carmella is just a placeholder for right now. Rhea getting injured sort of wrinkled WWE's original plans, but it's like Joe mentioned, there's nothing wrong with Carmella being in this spot. She won't lose anything from losing this match, and like no one expects her to win. She's a perfect type of heel where you don't have anyone better. You could put her in there, and she will put on somewhat of a decent match, if we're being honest. But I want to touch on Ronda real quick. I know it seems like I've been doing this for the past few weeks about Ronda, but I absolutely agree with Gene. Ronda came in, she was hot. The crowd loved her. It was a lot of ugly moments. I think when the crowd made her cry, I think that changed a lot of people's opinion about her. They wanted to build sympathy for her, but now it's just like it's just really hard to sit through a Ronda Rousey promo. And I think this match, I know we haven't talked about it, but I know Natalia and Ronda, I just think that would probably be the snoozer on the card just because they're both more submissions type. So you'll just see a lot of grapples and submission hold in that match.
And since you mentioned that, I was kind of thinking about it. Natalia has put a lot of wrestlers over that were subpar, basic wrestlers, and she's put them over. And I think that may be why they've paired the two of them together is for that very reason. Because like I said, I feel like Ronda Rousey's mailed it in, man. I don't see her having that same fire or desire to do anything.
Well, and it's funny because when they switched, and this is a little off subject, but when they switched to the main show being SmackDown, Michael Cole moved over there. They moved to Fox Network. SmackDown always had the ratings, but since Roman's been gone, I'll be quite honest with, and then Sasha on top of that, I'll be quite honest with you. I watch because of Pat McAfee, and he's an announcer. And I mean, I'm a Colts fan. I watch his show, but really, there's not a lot of things. And Walter, I will say, the body formation transformation he did that, now known as Gunther, but that's just amazing. I really do like that because I think that'll bring back the IC title. But SmackDown needs a little pop. So whether it's bringing Bayley back or Roman is going to be on the SummerSlam card, obviously with Lesnar, so you'll get it back there. But it is a little concerning that when Roman Reigns leaves and you need Ronda to take over, it doesn't work. Now on Raw, it does work when you put Becky in that spotlight because as much as she might be heel mode, people and young girls out there love her to death still, no matter if she's heel or face. We are going to talk because I know, Forbidden Door was an awesome event, but I'm waiting for Mr. Tampa Tones to join us because, man, I had one of the best. It was at the United Center. They did a great job there. Is that where the Chicago Bulls and the Chicago Blackhawks play? But to see the crossover, then we got Claudio, formerly known as Cesaro. We could talk about that a second. Cleve, we'll start with you, and then we'll hit it over to Gene, because I know he's fired up about it, and who shouldn't be, right? When you get Cesaro, Claudio back in the ring, you're getting a very, very good talent. There was rumors, maybe WWE, maybe AEW for the past month. What better way than Bryan Danielson, his replacement to be Cesaro, is if you're a WWE fan. They were kind of, teaming up towards the end there, trying to take out Roman. And now, they conclude, and they're both in AEW. The pop was huge from that crowd, Cleve. Are you happy to see it?
I am happy to see it because maybe we can finally see what's missing from Cesaro and WWE. Maybe it was the storylines that was holding him back from being a future world champion. He could use this as a stepping stone to one day come back to the WWE if he proves himself like a lot of guys that left and proved themselves to be world champion in other companies. If he can do that, then that will be a bigger bonus for AEW because I know a lot of people saw all the potential in the world with Cesaro. He was paired up with Paul Heyman at one point. That didn't seem to go anywhere. It just seems like he was floating in the water in WWE. So hopefully in AEW, he has a better career and he proves to the wrestling world that he is world champion material.
And I'm actually interested to watch AEW tonight really quickly. Just wanted to get that in because it is, the post pay-per-view. Now it's blood and guts tonight, right? I mean, we have a huge night ahead of us. Gene, go ahead. I know I cut you off there. I just wanted to mention that blood and guts is tonight in about an hour's time.
Yeah, I love the match. I love the secrecy. They actually kept this under wraps. I had no idea that he was going to be who would be the mystery opponent that would be coming out there.
Yep.
I know with CM Punk getting injured, I was like, man, how are they going to fix this? And then Danielson gets injured. And I'm like, man, they really screwed themselves. And then to see him come out there, I was just like, what? And I just couldn't believe it. But he didn't disappoint either. When he got out there, he didn't disappoint. And I want to see what he can do, with him having input on how his angles are going to work. Again, I understand why WWE does what they do, but I love, some of the angles they do come up with. But on the flip side of that, I love that, wrestlers have a little bit of say so in, what they do and how they do it at AEW. And it makes for a great contrast between the two styles. And we'll see if that's something that works for him and he's over with the crowd. And after a period of time, he's over and he decides to come back. Hopefully the WWE could see that like they did with Cody. I mean, not having to come in and paint half your face red and the other half pink or whatever, but just come in and just be a badass and come in and do what you do. And, we're seeing that with a lot of wrestlers, and these are missed opportunities. And with the spat of injuries that we're seeing in both promotions, or all promotions, to be honest, this is the time where they need to be using some of the lesser known talent. They need to be sprinkling them into these matches so they get face and name recognition. And when something comes up, one of these people has got to hit. The WWE has so much talent there. One of these people has to hit and has to get over with the crowd to where they can put them in if you have an injury or something like that that's occurring. But you just don't see it. They keep falling back to the retreads, to the same old, and keep going back. That's cool and all, but you need to take chances. You need to get with the youth movement so that you're ready for times like this where you're dealing with a bunch of injuries.
And that's why I think this is the perfect time to do it. As you said, there's a lot of injuries. Think about this from you just mentioned on the AEW, but on the WWE side, you have Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Bailey was out for a while and she's still not back yet. All these male stars, and then you bring back Cena was already coming back, but then Lesnar was a late addition. You lose a Rhea Ripley for a championship match. This is the time, and hey, even though it's just a name at the top of the helmet, at least Stephanie's name is on it. Hopefully, I just hope we get some new faces this weekend, because yes, you can have Becky win and Seth win and go on, and people are going to watch and they're going to be in tune for it. But the people who watch every week, like us, we want to see that person rise. Like when Big E had the Money in the Bank, you wanted to tune in every week to see what was going to happen there, because he was finally getting that chance. I think if Liv Morgan, and we haven't talked about it, but we're going to get to it shortly on the men's side. You have obviously Seth Rollins, who has won it before and had the most famous probably cash in. Sheamus, who's won it before. I know Drew McIntyre has had some main event roles and been a champion, but I wouldn't mind seeing him win. Sami Zayn, I think, would be a great wild card, especially since he always messes around with Roman Reigns and his crew wanting to be one of them. But as we know, there's a good probability they do the old reliables, as even on the poster is Cody Rhodes was on it before he got injured. Now it's Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. But that variety, Gene, that we get to see, from the other promotions, even though AEW is growing, like we always talk about, their factions help them get people on the scene. WWE simply doesn't do enough factions, and when they do, they get broken up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I don't understand why that happens. I mean, you've got like the Hurt Business.
Yep.
They should have never they shouldn't have messed with that. They ride that until they're not over with the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And you got so many different options that you can use with that. New Day, I like what they did with New Day, and they kind of gone back and forth. but there have been so many other tag teams and factions, but they don't capitalize off that. That's money lost. You're leaving the church's money in the basket right there, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, not to harp on it too much, but like for example, you could easily had Hurt Business versus the Ones in the Roman Empire. You could have had, the Hurt Business still be around. You don't need, yeah, Bobby might not add a title, but you don't need titles at factions on him. Vince gets a little bit infatuated with, always having to have the titles because we've proven time and time again that you don't need the title always in the picture to build greatness. Go ahead.
My question to you, both of you, and I'd like to get your answers on this. Will the WWE, if everything goes like I think it's going to go, is pretty incriminating, will the WWE prosper without Vince McMahon involvement in the day-to-day? And Joe, I'm going to start with you, Joe.
So it's before
and the reason I say this is because there have been times where they've had storylines laid out and this fool will come in and be like, no.
Yeah, no, and it happens day of, and it's interesting. He's been on the last three episodes. Maybe he knows his time's coming. He wants to get a little more face, but if he is actually out of the day-to-day, and that's your question, if he is out of the day-to-day, I do think you will see some change. Now, there's still a couple of people in there who have a Vince McMahon voice and backing, being like, guys like Khan and Bruce Pritchard. Maybe you got a couple of voices in there. But I really hope Stephanie's name being on it isn't just a movement to get, you had to put a family member in it. So I think with them, exactly. I think with them actually putting Triple H back into position and her, if Vince is not in the day-to-day, I do think you'll see it. Will it happen fast and often? I don't know about that, but I think you will start to see it as an every week watcher like ourselves. But Cleve, I'll let you answer that as I've been talking a little too much.
I think it will be. If it's left within the family, if it's left up to Stephanie and Triple H, I think we will enter a new era of the WWE. We'll probably move away from PG. I think a lot of fans are ready for WWE to move away from the PG era. It was good for when it was John Cena around. The biggest star of your brand was the kids love John Cena. To this day, they still love him. But Cena's gone. Younger guys that are coming from these independent or these small wrestlers that fought differently than how they fought during the PG era. So I think with Triple H Stephanie taking over, we will move out of the PG era. Like I think, like Gene mentioned, I read a few times too where Vince didn't like how a match was set up or he didn't like the script, and they'll tear it up and they'll make them write it before the show. It'll be 30 minutes before Raw comes on, and there's no plan on how Raw's going to be run tonight. And Vince.
Well, look at what happened at NXT, though. I want you to keep going, Cleve, but you have a good point there with Triple H. He took the Gold brand from a developmental league. He developed a bunch of stars like the Undisputed Era, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and they ended up being in a Survivor Series on the same level as Raw and SmackDown and actually coming in second or first place on matches won that night. And he did that with the Shawn Michaels help with all the development. So it has been done before. And then what did happen? He steps down due to health reasons. Vince comes in, changes the whole thing. Shocking, right? And then your point, though, is being proven because it's been done before.
And that's true. And I think maybe the only reason why he stopped with the NXT is because NXT is a development brand. You don't want your D-League team whooping on the pro team. You know what I mean? So I could kind of see.
But it was cool to see. Yeah.
And this is, I think at the end of the day, WWE is a business. And they're looking at their bottom line. Their bottom line is the most important thing. That's where your shareholders and everybody like that benefits. So you've got a good product now. What Triple H did, he doesn't get enough credit for what he did with NXT prior to the Fruity Pebbles NXT look. Prior to that, NXT was fire. And I love watching NXT. I love looking forward to that product. And then just when Triple H was gone, he just is like, oh, this is doing too good. We've got to, I don't know if they sabotage it or what, but it just went from here to way down here just that quick.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of new people. Maybe like, yeah, I get it. They're probably young and developmental, and now you're going to get Valerie or Laredo going there. That will bring some eyes. We know that's going to bring some eyes for sure. I don't know. If you smell, we're getting hyped. We're getting hyped. Hey, but before we continue, Tones, Mr. Tampa Tones, I know you've been driving around a lot. You're making some time for us here. We went over a lot of the woman's side of the card. It seems like you're a Lacey Evans fan. And then on top of that, do you agree that Ronda and Bianca easy wins? And how we doing, my man?
Great. I'm doing great, fellas. Thanks for having me. I'm glad I could join in on this beautiful Wednesday evening. Blessed to be by all, and hope y'all are having a great Wednesday. Yeah, I think that those statements are pretty accurate all around. I think that Rousey and Bianca easily take care of their opponents, and I think they look great in doing so, and I think that both of them have dominated victories. And on the other hand, I do hope that Lacey Evans wins the Money in the Bank. Now, do I think she will? That's another story. Not necessarily, perhaps. I think eventually they're going to push her again. But what it started would be by pushing her, but she could be a great heel. Blame him for having Becky wins if Becky wins, because she's been one of the better women wrestlers in the past decade that we've seen with the company. So it could really go a multitude of ways. As you said, a lot of fans want that Liv Morgan to win, so we'll see if she gets lucky and somehow unfortunately wins. And
Whoa! Heel Tones is back. Unfortunately.
Wow, bro. Really?
I think she deserves
Seriously?
it. But, she could, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope she proves me wrong, but
she probably will. You're just overstepping, bro. You get here. You've only been here for 5 minutes. You're already overstepping.
That's your opinion, man. I mean, that's your opinion, fam. You someone's opinion. I know it's 2022, but damn.
Hey, we're already off to a little fun. There's a little noise going on in the back of Tones. I'm going to bring him back right here in a second. But there's strong opinions all over the board. I'm putting Liv up. He's putting Liv down. Gene don't want to see Becky win. Cleve's going Team Bliss. I love how we're all over the place when it comes down to the women's Money in the Bank match. But let's jump over to the men's side of the Money in the Bank. And let me list those contestants for y'all really quick. As you know, we're going on halfway through the show here. I love that the Fantastic Four is here for Cleve's last episode for a while, so I'm going to be relying on my guys like Tampa Tones and the big paycheck, Mr. Gene, to be helping me out for the next month, because it's going to be SummerSlam's coming. It's big times, and unfortunately, I don't have all hands on deck, but I know my guys like Tampa Tones and Gene's will, so that's going to be great. One love, and that's great to hear. Men's side, here we go, fellas. Seth Rollins, Sheamus, McIntyre, Omos, Sami Zayn, Riddle, and it says to be announced. Is it still to be announced? I think so. But Tones, out of the options we have at hand, Rollins, Sheamus, Drew, McIntyre, Omos, Zayn, Riddle, who you think you will win and who you want to win, because it's probably different.
I really would love to see Sami Zayn win, and I think they could do a lot of cool storylines if Sami Zayn wins. I mean, him involved with the bloodline, not involved with the bloodline, and just his character in general. We've always seen him in fun little cool storylines, and he could whip up a heel character like no other. But will Sami Zayn win? I don't know if they got the guts to take it, to give it to a guy like Sami Zayn. We've seen him give it to a guy like Otis before, and we've seen them regret it instantly, and I thought that was a bad move when they took it away from Otis, but I just don't want a similar situation happening with Sami Zayn. So I don't think they'll give it to him naturally. I mean, that'd be something if Seth and Becky won it. I could see WWE doing some gimmick like that. But at the end of the day, ultimately, I think I hope Sami Zayn wins it, but I'm gonna say I think Riddle keeps riding his momentum, and I think he gets a Money in the Bank victory.
Cleve, you're shaking your head the wrong way. while Gene shakes his head the other way. What's going on here? Gene, where are you going in this match? Who you think versus who you want?
I want to see Riddle do this. The WWE has missed so many opportunities for this guy. He's been over a few times, and they've just haven't cashed in on this on what he can do. I love what they were doing with him and Randy Orton. I believe that, like, right now, I mean, if you watch that match on Raw, he was over with the crowd, and that's the pop that he was getting was that's kind of what you want. I mean, you want to have that kind of momentum. I think you can. There's a couple storylines that you could do with this. I just don't see the whole Seth Rollins. I don't see how you really work that storyline to make it, because would you consider them both heels, or I mean,
Who?
how Rollins, if Rollins, well, I guess we'd have to see who has the championship at the time that they do it. But
yeah, I mean, you'd have to do more long-term storytelling with that, because, like, for example, I'm with you on the Riddle, who I want to see win. I'll be rooting for Riddle. I wouldn't also mind seeing McIntyre, just because, he's a big guy who's been a champion. I think he deserves. He can't stay healthy, but if he had a good run during the era when no fans were there, and it was kind of a shame no fans were there. But I do want Riddle. And I honestly think Riddle could probably, and Cleve's going to shake his head no again. Cleve, step in here while you're so against Riddle, because I would love to hear why the face doesn't like the face that has been doing great all over the place.
I just don't like when a face wins the Money in the Bank. I just don't think it's a more. I see the Money in the Bank as sort of a heel's way to sneak in a title match. I really don't see a good guy like Matt Riddle cashing in.
You didn't like Big E's last year?
It was the Big E was cool, but I still just prefer when it's a heel. My favorite moment of a cash in is Edge when he cashed in on Undertaker and Cena after they both came from grueling matches, were both beaten down. Even the Miz when he cashed in on Alberto Del Rio. The guy I want to win, it's a dark horse in this match. I don't think a lot of people think he's gonna win. But I got Sheamus, man.
Wow.
Sheamus has won a championship. He's still great in the ring. He's still great on the mic. He can still put on great matches. So my pick is Sheamus, but realistically, I think it would probably be Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre. Those are probably the two. Matt Riddle, I don't see it yet. I'm sorry.
And it's interesting. I thought you were for sure going to say Omos, because he could just go up and grab that thing, but we don't really need him winning right now. He's not even over. Now, this to be announced spot is interesting. I don't know if anybody, if we're waiting for Friday SmackDown to get a last second invitee, or we're going to get a surprise. Would you guys rather us find out Friday? Tones, will start with you, or would you rather it be left as an unknown surprise? We're also getting Bailey rumors, which we've had for a while now, but she tweets a lot, so I think she's getting closer. But do you think it should be more of a surprise, or we find out Friday, Mr. Tones?
As much as I love surprises in wrestling and the crowd pops, and it's one of the greatest things there are, I think that the spot in Money in the Bank should be earned, and I think that's one of those things where everyone else in the Money in the Bank earns their right to be in a match, and I think that you could really build up the match to the deserving pedigree it is by having people earn their way into the match. And, who are you going to put in there? An old veteran at Money in the Bank who's going to win the Money in the Bank and then easily lose? It's like when old people join the Rumble and you kind of know that they're going to lose. I mean, obviously you could have a younger guy maybe return from an injury, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, if you don't earn your way into the Money in the Bank, I'm not really looking forward to seeing you in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and, there was a lot of talk when Brock Lesnar, how he came in at the very end of the Money in the Bank one, and a lot of people were not happy about that, as he wasn't Cowboy Brock yet, so people were hating on him a lot more. Now a lot more people love him. I'm gonna spin it and give a little bit of a different question to y'all, Gene and Cleve, and then we're gonna get into some Forbidden Door talk. Is I want to get Tones' favorite match, and a couple of thoughts from there, and the rest of y'all as well. I'm gonna give one to Cleve, and I'm going to give one to Gene. Is all of our Cleve, me, Gene, T for Tampa. It's all rhyming today. My God. Who has a better chance of winning, the Street Profits or Bobby Lashley, both going for championships? And either of you could take the floor.
I think Bobby Lashley. No. Actually, I'll scratch that. Let me go Street Profit, just because I think the match at SummerSlam will be Theory versus Cena. So I think Street Profit has a higher, but it's not that high because, like I said, I don't think the Usos will lose the title as long as Roman Reigns is still the undisputed champion. So it's higher, but it's not that high.
Where are you at, Gene?
I'm going with Lashley. Just the way they've been building everything up, and that last match where they had Austin Theory as the enforcer in that handicap match. Again, the fact that Bobby Lashley won, I mean, they're building him up. They're putting him in that direction to actually to be a champion. And I think you can't go wrong there. I think that, he's over. Again, you'll hear me say that a lot, who's over with the crowd and who's not. I've seen matches where the crowd is like anemic, and then I've seen other matches where, the crowd's kind of into it. And I felt like they were really into this match with Chad Gable and Bobby Lashley. I think the WWE would really shoot themselves in the foot, not, putting the strap on Lashley.
Yeah, because before Tones gets his thought in on this and then talks about Forbidden Door a little bit, I will say, unless Lashley, there's outside help for Theory, like unless Alpha Academy, because he's beaten Alpha Academy a couple times, unless Otis and Chad Gable save the day for Mr. Theory, he can't get a clean win. You can't have big Bobby Lashley, who you to me, he has one of the best entrances now, how he stands in the middle on top of the little podium, and then he puts his hands up, and I love his new theme song. It can't be a clean loss. It would have to have an Alpha Academy interference to me for that to happen. And the Usos, I have to put them as a win, so I got to put Street Profits lower, because what I think is going to happen is the Street Profits lose, and then Montez Ford, he keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think we're going to see a singles run out of him sooner than later. Tones, your thoughts on all of that, and then Forbidden Door, a couple things that popped for you.
Yeah, and I agree with the Lashley. I'm going with Lashley as well. We were at elimination, or not eliminate. Geez, we were at Hell in a Cell. That goes to show you how much I was out of it, that pay-per-view. But we were at Hell in a Cell. We've seen Lashley win. We've seen the crowd erupt. We've seen him throw the title around his waist like Aaron Rodgers flaunted after a falsified touchdown against the Buccaneers after then he got his ass kicked. But nonetheless, Lashley does it a lot better. Lashley does it a hell of a lot better than Aaron Rodgers ever does it. Let me tell you that. But I think Bobby Lashley really does have a good chance at winning the title. And as weird as this sounds, I think Lashley winning the title makes the title more prestigious than Theory having it. But at the same time, I feel like Theory could be used in more important storylines, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I think they could kill two birds with one stone. They can make the belt more prestigious by having Bobby Lashley win it, but at the same time, Theory could really get hot and heavy in some more important storylines, perhaps.
Of course, and give us some Forbidden Door thoughts. As I mentioned a little bit before you came on, I didn't speak. We spoke on Cesaro, now known as Claudio, but besides that, we didn't hit on too much. Give us a couple highlights.
Man, I don't know what has been in the air for Chicago wrestling fans. I know it's been a wrestling hub. Elimination Chamber, or I keep saying it, Hell in a Cell, the crowd was insane. And then Forbidden Door, it's like the damn lid popped off. When Cesaro came out, I know we've seen Cesaro a lot, but, the damn lid popped off the roof. Jericho's entrance doesn't disappoint. Everyone loved to see Eddie Kingston as always. Everything, all the fans are going crazy. Wild thing when Moxley came out, New Japan Pro Wrestling, people were going crazy to be able to see these guys. these guys in person. So it was really just a fantastic atmosphere overall. I think in totality of the show, I put the Lightning on my phone, so I was kind of even though the Lightning lost sadly, but I will say the Wi-Fi was perfect. I was able to watch a pay-per-view and the Lightning simultaneously, which was a beautiful thing. I will say my favorite thing about the pay-per-view in entirety, match-wise, I don't think there was a bad match. Don't get me wrong there. But I think maybe my favorite match was a Fatal 4-Way with Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, or not Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, and Jay Lethal, and who was the
Kana.
I'm forgetting. Yes, that was a terrific match. I thought that was a fantastic match. I thought that those guys put it on the line. I think the Jericho's team versus Eddie Kingston's team match was fantastic. The women's match was really electric as well. So I think a lot of good. I'm forgetting the tag team matches that happened as well, man. I could go on and on about all the types of matches. I will say one of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing, was the Revival. Got injured, comes back, FTR. The crowd literally loses their shit. They go crazy. That pop was awesome to see a wrestler get hurt. I know it's probably K-Fob, but just terrific to see, man.
No,
Just
it was legit.
Yeah, it was legit, Gene.
Yeah, it was legit.
Yeah, and it looked bad. When Joey and I seen it, we thought it was serious as well. So that even adds more to the heroic story. And that was probably my favorite little detail of Forbidden Door. But honestly, I thought the pay-per-view was great. And I know that Mark Dykton said they were going to do it yearly, and I think they should do it yearly.
Yeah, and I want Gene's thoughts because I know he was been waiting for that for a while. Is love the crossover from New Japan to AEW. Yeah, I mean Chicago gets a few things. They're always on Black Wednesday. AEW they give that event too. Forbidden Door, be cool to have yearly. I know All Out is in Chicago, so AEW loves coming here. So does WWE's. We do a lot. The two things that stood out to me, I'm not saying my favorite, I'll give that in a little bit, but Suzuki pop when he would get going in the ring with whether it was Eddie Kingston and him slapping each other back and forth, man, the pop for him was like no other. Our buddy Ryu Kendrick, who's sometimes on the show, actually met him before, and then Sting jumping off the top.
Oh my god!
For him being at the age he is at, oh my goodness, I could not believe that he was able to pull
that. That's amazing, man. That was amazing. And I just remember the crowd, literally all the jaws were on the ground, and the anticipation is what made it great too, because no one knew where the hell Sting was going to come from, right? I mean, here we're like, is he going to come from the rafters? Is he going to come from the Jumbotron? What the hell is going to happen? I think that was executed perfectly.
Yeah, it was. And just the way he landed on everybody, it looked legit. You know, they really worked it up real good.
Yeah, and Gene, give me a couple of thoughts on what I mean. You probably love the whole card, but a couple of things that stood out for you or something you really enjoyed.
I'm a huge Mero fan. Mero the Redeemer is my guy. I love Pac. I love Pac when he was in WWE, and you know the fact that they put the strap on him. That not spoiler alert, sorry, but it was truly an incredible. That was an incredible match for me. I love the Will Ospreay Orange Cassidy match. I don't think that match gets enough love. Orange Cassidy has always been a good wrestler in the indies, and I think the way they've been utilizing him recently
has been trash.
Yeah, and I think they really need to do a little bit more with him because he's one hell of a talent. And I love what can you say? Will Ospreay's amazing. The guy that's one of the most underrated, innovative wrestlers in America. I won't say worldwide because more people know who he is outside of the U.S., but within the U.S., I'm hoping that he gets a little bit more exposure, and you get to see more of him. And again, my girl Toni Storm, she really helped with that match.
I wish she would have won.
Yeah, me too. Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is the
she don't do it for me.
Yeah, she's the Adam Page of the females division, to be honest. When I Adam Page is a talent. I love Adam Page, but just having him as the champion he just didn't do it. And that's kind of how I feel with Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa, I was seeing her in the indies, and I've been watching her for years, and then she gets this opportunity, and she's not the draw. She's not like Britt Baker was, like or some of the other ones that were before her. She doesn't get that pop like the other ones do. And I think Toni Storm, what she's been doing with Britt Baker, with who's my girl tag teaming with
Jay Cargill,
no, not Jay Cargill,
Statlander.
no, not Statlander. She tag teams with her. She came from WWE, and she Ruby Soho.
There you go. There you go.
So again, I think she's like elevated herself above. I thought Ruby Soho would get where Toni Storm is, just because of how she works. I've seen her work in the ring, but I think Toni Storm is really making the most of the opportunities that she's being given.
Yeah, I agree with Ruby Soho. I'm a big fan of her work. I was saying Ruby Soho, but I know why I'm muted. I'm driving around, so sorry if there is lackluster noise in the background.
No worries.
I'm also forgetting so much because I am driving, so I'm multitasking. Man, that Miro, I love Miro as well. That was fantastic. I mean, Orange Cassidy match is fantastic, and I think I definitely agree with you guys there. Little bit of hypocrisy on the behalf of AEW because as much as I love AEW and the cons, I mean, they were all about the foundation getting their title opportunities, and really guys like Orange Cassidy and MJF are yet to see the likes, while a lot of newcomers like CM Punk and whatnot have.
Yeah, and Cleve, I want you to think about this question really quickly because I'm going to ask you in a minute. I'm going to say my favorite match and then give you it. Do you think Jon Moxley should be the champ until CM Punk gets back? So I want you to you think about that answer. I'm going to go to a match that we haven't talked about yet because I think, and it was early on, I'm not sure if it started the card, but the Swerve and Keith Lee, oh my God, against Desperado.
Desperado.
That match was phenomenal. Yoshinobu, I hope I'm not butchering his name. I probably am, but
tomorrow.
Yeah, those. That was, people were flying everywhere. Keith Lee, he was doing the thing where his leg was a little injured. He had something in his face at times. He was putting on great moves. Every time someone's like, ooh, and it was just a really fun match. And, I wasn't sure. Sometimes, with all these guys going to WWE, AEW, a guy like Keith Lee or a guy like Miro or a guy like those two especially, but maybe will they get lost in the shuffle a little bit with all the great talents like of a Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Moxley is champion. They're putting them in good positions. They have more titles. It's even going to take time for me to learn. Me and Tones were like, because you had the ROH titles and you had the New Japan titles, you had AEW. It was so much to boggle, but that's for another time. I thought that was a little confusing, but great pay-per-view overall. Cleve, let's answer the question. Do you think Jon Moxley should hold this until CM Punk gets back?
I think it just depends on how long Punk is injured. Has there been an estimated time? How long will he be out? Yeah.
If I had to say, it's a broad range. I don't think they said specific, but I would guess anywhere from 6 months to a year, like 6 to 9 months. Let's maybe go in the 6 to 9 month range.
If you go in that range, and I just don't think so. I've been saying this for the longest. That's just been my biggest issue with AEW is just how hypocritical they are sometimes. I've literally looked at the AEW tag who held the title, the big title, and it's all established guys but Hangman Page. MJF is a young star. He was there from when it started. He should honestly got a chance at the AEW champion. Orange Cassidy, I know he's over with the crowd. I seen clips of him. I don't think he's world's champion material with his gimmick and stuff, but I think MJF should be in the AEW title pitch, and I think that might make their relationship better. We haven't heard anything for a while, but maybe MJF is still thinking about leaving, so why not give him a chance with the belt to improve the relationship? But I just never liked Dean Ambrose, John Moxley. I just never saw the excitement behind him.
Oh, I think you're crazy, but we don't have time to argue too much there. I do want to say Blood and Guts is tonight. Within the half hours we're going to take you up to the top of it. Christian Cage is going to be giving a segment as he's been all over Jungle Boy. I mean, harshly all over Jungle Boy, coming at, rest in peace, his dad, coming at his mom who was in the stands, and his sister. I mean, really a great thing there. But Jungle Boy's also hurt now, so that's not a good thing. The Blood and Guts match, it will consume, which I did not see the first one. So Gene or Tones, if you do remember it, I would love to hear more, because the names I see when Jericho's in it, Sammy Guevara, who, man, he is easily the most hated AEW character by far, I would say right now, and it's not even close, him and his lady. From
Conti.
Yeah, from the just the cheers. If I didn't even know anything about wrestling, I would have said him. Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, Daniel Garcia, and Jack Hager versus AEW interim champion Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, Santana Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston. Tones, then to Gene. Tones, have you seen the first one they ever done, and how much are you looking forward to that tonight if you're able to catch any of it?
Yeah, I have seen the first one, and I'm actually really looking forward to the second one. I think it's a great thing for those of you who didn't get a chance to watch the first one. Tonight is a fantastic opportunity to get accustomed to these types of things that AEW likes to do. AEW likes to do a lot of, high-end shows on their weeks, and they do give a lot of these shows titles and whatnot, and this is another one of those shows. I'm really looking forward to. I'm not going to be able to watch it live, but you bet your ass that I'm going to be watching this replay as soon as I can, because I cannot wait.
Gene, what are your thoughts on tonight, and are you going to be able to watch any of it?
Yes, absolutely. I would not miss this. It's really crazy how how things have transpired since the last one. I mean, you had Eddie Kingston and John Moxley beating up on Kenny Omega and Nakazawa. I can't think of the first guy. The guy, I didn't think of his first name, but that was just a great match. It was just because I'm a heel. I love heels. I just do. I don't know why. I'm drawn to heels. Kenny Omega could get so much heat with the crowds, and he was just that guy. And him and the Young Bucks together are just they're unstoppable. But just watching that match, it made me would continue to draw me into wrestling again, and where I was just like hardcore. Let me, I can't miss the next match, that kind of thing. So, really good matches. Another one that that I really liked was the Britt Baker, where she faced Julia Hart, who's now part of the House of Black. But that was a good match too. Again, these were just matches that you wouldn't expect to be good, and the way they worked the crowd, and they were clean matches, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. It made wrestling a lot of fun. So
I love Britt Baker, and compared to we complained about a couple of the women's matches last time. Sable from the last big card they had. I think they did much better. Britt Baker's the perfect example of someone, she's already so over that you don't need. I would love her to be champion again, but you don't need it on her to put her in good,
you said
good spots.
Earlier, you said something earlier in the show, like at the very beginning, and you talked about how important it is for some wrestlers to have titles. That's the way Vince feels. But with AEW, the one thing that I will say, and I'm not, putting one over the other, but you have great matches, even though these people don't have titles. They put together great angles, great storylines, and they make it work. And that's what makes wrestling great. It's good if there's a title involved, but there just doesn't always have to be a title involved. And that's what makes wrestling fun.
And that's what hopefully they start to realize, because I 100% agree with you there. Tones, how we doing? How you doing on time? How much you got left with us?
Thanks for bringing me in. I'm actually going to take one more question from you, and then I got to bounce. So I'm going to give my out outro when I answer your last question right here.
All right, then let's say it right now. What are you looking most forward to at Money in the Bank? And do you think we get any surprises back at all, whether it be a Bailey or if you get it from the men's side? I'm just having a hard time coming up with names off the top of my head, but you could easily get a few back there as well. Those couple of things, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always. Of course, I got to be the heel voice of the show. You can't have all faces, it's like a wrestling match. You got to sprinkle in a heel, and we're talking wrestling, so you got to have a heel point of view. And not only sports, but wrestling. You fellas, a lot of people think wrestling's something where, they take it for granted. They just say it's fake, whatever. But at the end of the day, if you like and enjoy wrestling, you really know it's entertaining to watch. It's fun to watch. It's awesome. And that goes for a lot of brands of it, not just WWE, but AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, a lot of good brands out there. So I'm always excited. And Cleve, best of luck, buddy. We sent you off
Yes.
I know a couple weeks ago, but now we're sending you off on the air. So you're one of my best friends, and love you, man. And we met in college, and we're gonna continue to be brothers. And me and Gene got your back on the show, so you're in good hands when you're gone. But yeah, you're gonna be welcome back with open arms. We're gonna pick back up right where we left off. And the thing I'm looking forward to most at Money in the Bank, well, I got my Money in the Bank shirt on right now.
Hey.
Team, but the thing I'm looking forward to most is seeing perhaps Sami Zayn. He might not win it, but he's going to be at the top of that ladder at one point in time, and something hilarious is going to happen, either in favor for Sami Zayn or against Sami Zayn. And a surprise I think we're going to see, I could see Bailey coming back, and I could see some other things as well. But one surprise that I see happening, if I had to pick one, is I don't think we get a match out of him, but I think we get an appearance out of John Cena, whether it's a cameo or an in-person appearance. I think he'll be at the pay-per-view. Anyways, everyone have a great night. Gene, Cleve, and Joe, it's been a pleasure. And
Tones, it was wonderful, man.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you as always, Mr. Tampa Tones, and we appreciate that. And he brought up a couple of good things there. John Cena, that how you could start the rivalry right there with Theory having him come in. That's not a bad idea. I even think I know he wouldn't be able to do anything. I could maybe see Cody Rhodes pushing Seth Rollins off the ladder just so Seth don't win it. He wouldn't get touched on. I'm simply saying Cody comes in, pushes Seth while everyone thinks he's going to grab it and leaves. You could get a little creative with it. Then again, I don't even know if he's traveling to the event. I'm just having some fun. One thing, Gene, we talked about it with the titles, how you always don't need to have them. I always love the sense of that, because when you get these big stars in like an AEW, you see how all these people could actually, grow up to be a little bit. And the fans in AEW, what I noticed too, because it's wild. You could easily tell, like, their demographic is literally even older than me. As a 29-year-old, I would say most of the people were even older than that. I would say the average age was about 40 compared to WWE with all the kids. You're going to get your average age about 18. Every match, it's like that was the last one they were going to have. That's how the crowd treated it. There's getting after it with the reactions, with the whatever they do. I also found that to be awesome. I know really WWE, they blow some cheers or boos in because they have a lot of kids who kind of just sit there because that is where a lot of their PG era comes from. But that was another thing I took out of AEW, is just that the crowd and the energy. It made you, like our buddy said, he goes, what people say wrestling's fake. How about you try to pull off these moves, make them look so damn real, and nobody's breaking their head off every week, and we don't have millions of more broken necks or guys dying in the ring simply. I think it's so people don't look at that enough. If anybody wants to comment on that, I just couldn't feel more strongly on that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Keith Lee is a great example. Here's a guy that's over 300 pounds, and he moves in the ring like he weighs 150 pounds. And there are a lot of wrestlers like that. I mean, Wardlow. You look at Wardlow. Wardlow's a monster, but his in-ring ability is just incredible. These guys work very hard at what they do, and outside of a handful, I would say they have to be applauded for that athleticism. They are athletes. And if you flip the script and put some of these other people in there, I mean, the guy that's sitting on the couch in his mom's basement crashing wrestling, I'd love to see him get in the ring and see what
Thank you.
see it. I'd like to see him take a hip toss.
Yes.
One, and see how that goes for him. So again, these guys deserve all the credit that's coming to them, to be honest.
Cleve.
And I will say this: I've always hated the fake word when people describe wrestling. Even as a kid, I used to argue with kids on the playground because it just irks my blood that you would just consider what they do fake. When you have people like Kurt Angle, who's an actual Olympic gold medalist, who won it with a broken neck. You got people like Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, even Chad Gable, guys who are college wrestlers. And not to disrespect other sports, but I think it's a little more easier to pick up and dribble a basketball and throw a football, honestly, than learn how to correctly suplex a person or even correctly DDT a person where you make sure the top of their head's not hitting the canvas all the way. So I just really hate how they I just hate how they describe it as fake. And Gene made another good point. There were a lot of athletic big men like Vader. Vader used to do a moonsault off the top rope.
Dusty Rhodes. These are big guys that can move around in the ring. Now you get some guys like the Great Khalid or almost that really can't move. But I think a lot of that has to do with just they're so damn tall.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, it's like in the NBA when you get that 7'3" guy, and he can't get to the NBA because in college he was good because he just was 2 feet taller. But
taller than everybody.
Yeah.
He plays with other people with talent, and you just obviously see it. So, yeah, I just hate hearing the word fake. I know the matches are premeditated. They know who's going to win, even though sometimes the match can change on the flip, as we've seen in the past. But the moves and stuff are real, and that's why they always warn people not to do this outside of the ring.
Hey, and just as Big E, I mean, it's as simple. I mean, God bless that he's progressing, but he broke his damn neck on SmackDown, just right, and nobody even knew how to react. So I mean, just look at that. We went through the whole card. We talked about Forbidden Door. We're coming up on the last 10 minutes, but Gene, we have not talked about who wants to walk with Ezekiel or Elias, because on Monday Night Raw, I don't know if either of you were able to watch or see the highlights, but this segment did not happen due to Kevin Owens. Last second he could not attend for some reason.
The interaction with Cena. I will get to that when it's my turn, but that
maybe you're saying Cena took the place of that segment.
I'm thinking that's what happened,
and I could now see because Cena did have a decent. He started with congratulating a lot of people. Then he had a few cool segments with like Rollins and Theory. So. Whatever it was, they were not on there, but it says they're on the Money in the Bank card. It says Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel says as of 18 hours ago. Maybe that's what we get for a preview match. But everything's to be determined on that. Gene, give us your thought though, and if that match does happen, is Elias gonna pull out the W?
I think that I love how this is going. I love how they're playing this. Especially Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is just like unhinged, and the way that his character is showing this is the greatness that is the WWE. When you have a storyline like this, and you have Kevin Owens, and he's able to carry this. This can't be two different people, and he's in his own head and. You're drawn to this.
No title
even talked about here. And you got a guy and his imaginary brother, and you've got this match. I am so excited for this match, and I'm just like, we got low expectations because I'm just want to see how it all turns out. And I think that this will probably be one of the top matches. When it all goes down, because Elias Ezekiel, always been a good wrestler. They've had this gimmick from the beginning, and they really haven't given him an opportunity to show what he can do. But when we've seen him wrestle, Elias is a damn good wrestler, and I just think he needs more opportunities. And I think this is going to put a lot more eyes on him, and I'm happy for him. You know who Kevin Owens is, but here's a guy that's been, a mid-carder jobbing out throughout his career in the WWE, and it's a good opportunity for him, and I'm happy for him. These are the kind of people that the WWE needs to get to the forefront in case of injuries, or just getting that new blood out there and getting more people to sit down and watch the show, because hey, there's some guy, I don't know him, and you start watching, hey, this is interesting, let me tune in next week. So I think the WWE needs to stop with the missed opportunities. I mean, we can go back to MJF, who was working security for Samoa Joe in NXT before he went to AEW.
Yeah,
The way he did. So there's little things like that, man, that the WWE needs to capitalize on when they have the chance.
Cleve, agree with him on Ezekiel Elias versus Kevin Owens, or
I
disagree?
100% agree with Gene. I think it is more easier to sell your main event than to sell like a opening match. You have to have the right type of storyline, especially when you don't involve a championship belt. Because regardless of who's in the championship match, it's still a championship match, and people will tune in. But when it's not a championship match, when it's not main event or near main event, you really have to have the right type of storyline. I think we all thought from the beginning, even myself, that this was going to flop. This was just another thing. I don't know what the heck. We thought Ezekiel would be in a 24/7 picture after a month. But him and Kevin Owens have committed to this story. Really shout out to Kevin Owens, who really is a main event guy, but he's sort of down in the middle tier working with a new character like Ezekiel / Elias, whatever you want to call him. My only question is to you guys is, I think Ezekiel ties it up. And I just want to know, who do you think should go over if it's a 1-1? Now, I know Kevin Owens deserves it. I know we say Kevin Owens should be in the title picture, but I think Ezekiel needs this win more than Kevin Owens needs.
Oh, easily, because, and I'll say why. Kevin Owens is established. When you get a second big contract from Vince McMahon, you're doing something right, and you're over with the fans. Like he did it with Stone Cold, as Gene said. Now he's doing it with Elias Ezekiel. We brought up 17 million times how we don't need titles. Here's a perfect example of great storytelling with imagination and long-term creativity. That part I just like the most about it. So Ezekiel to me needs it more, as if he loses too much here early on, unless they plan on it fully going back to Elias, which I'm not really sure what the plan is. Gene, what do you think a year from now? Is it Ezekiel, Elias, or not even in WWE?
I think it's going to be Ezekiel. I think Ezekiel's going to be the guy. I mean, with him, he's added to Elias, and this is what people are talking about. Ezekiel is the name you think about. I think they move on from him. It's just so much easier. He's clean shaven. It's easier to work with that. Again, this is genius, and I see this going on for several more months. I mean, if you can rehash some of these rubber matches that they've had over the past 5 years, I could easily see this going even longer. I think that
I hope they do.
You've got something big here, and this could easily turn into something else. So most definitely. And
they're good at screwing up the long-term stuff, so hopefully that's where we get some better things there. But hey, guys, we're on the last few minutes. First, let's do some housekeeping. Gene, I know you said you're always willing to help. It will be, I guess, the me, Gene, and T show until Cleve and Me can actually be back. But I know between Tones and Gene, this show is going to be staying strong, people. We're going to bringing you our content every week. We are not stopping and slowing down through the rest of this WrestleMania at the very minimum. So we appreciate all the efforts. And Gene, thank you. Is that? And then Cleve, my man, I love you. You visited a couple times. I'm glad you did. You're one of my best guys. You're traveling overseas, not overseas, but over the waters to Hawaii, where it's a completely different landscape. You're on a completely different time change. So get used to life, get acclimated, get the job under your boot. And, the 1 year anniversary is near end of August. I hope to get you back for, after SummerSlam around then, so we could get you back for the 2 year anniversary.
Definitely. Like Joe, we started this back in, actually Joe's going on the 2 year anniversry.
That's what I just said. Come on now. Jesus. Throw my pen in there. Jeez, Louise.
When Joe first texted me about doing the Cleve and Me, just something to get us through the pandemic to where we are now, almost 2 years later. This has been a great trip. Like Joe mentioned, I won't be gone forever. I'll just have to figure stuff out, get used to the time difference and everything. But I still will be tuning in every episode. I will be leaving my comments. I still will be on Twitter. Don't forget, and I always will be rooting for my teams. But in the meantime, I'm just really thankful for this opportunity. Like Joe mentioned, Joe, Tones, Gene, thank you for today's show. And thank you to all our fans. Cleve will be back.
Yes, well, Gene, any last comments?
Absolutely. Folks, please be sure to check out Me and the Big Paycheck, new show coming up. And
he's trying to get us to call it the Big Paycheck. I might need some money for that.
Don't forget to tune back in here to the Big Paycheck. And my guy, Joe doing his thing. I'm excited. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to do this. Wrestling is my passion. I love wrestling since I was a little kid. If you haven't watched any of my episodes on here, you'll see I've been a fan forever. And
yes.
I think everybody keep in mind, there's not just one promotion or two promotions, but there's many promotions, and I think they all deserve a chance. So remember that.
And that's what, and you know what? Both of these men right here have been a great help to me, both great friends of mine. I don't care, I haven't met Gene in person. That's what it's not about these days. You could look at what our phones do and what Zoom does and all that. It's going to be a little different for the next month going forward. We're going to have a little broader view on wrestling. Cleve and I, we just get loving talking WWE. Sometimes we get sidetracked. Now we've done a lot better with it, but with Gene, he always throws in that different perspective. We always get things going. So look for a little bit of change there. Cleve's thoughts will have to turn into maybe Gene's thoughts, and then Tones will always have his damn report as he brings us every week. And, Gene, you're one of our guys, but you're just not on because you know the wrestling, but it's interesting when you talk wrestling. I could have a best friend, but if they're boring at what they're talking about, it's not good for the show. You really bring, some electrifying. You're kind of like our Pat McAfee for this show. You bring that extra noise, that hype that I feel like we were missing. So I appreciate that. And Tones, I know, isn't here, but he'll always be helping out. For that being said, one last time before we take a little break, Cleve, man, love you, bro. You've been a boss. Please safe travels, because that's the most important thing, that you get over there and settled in. One last word before you go, Mr. Cleve.
As always, go Lakers. Go
Bulls, Jesus.
Go Cowboys. Go Yankees.
Oh my God.
Seriously, thank you to everyone.
It doesn't matter what you want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you think. Cleve and Me is out of here.